Hey guys, welcome back to the incoherent ramblings of a madman. Wow, I really need to work on that intro. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is is power scaling and how that's so annoying. And sorry that I sound like a little tired or whatever, or like I look a little tired or disheveled. I just woke up from a nap, but after waking up from this nap, I went on YouTube as I do, and you have posts on YouTube, and I was just scrolling through, and I scrolled through to see this whole Powerpuff Girls versus, Powerpuff Girls versus, shoot, what's it called? It was like Powerpuff Girls versus something, right? Powerpuff Girls versus, fuck, I forgot her name from Doki Doki Literature Club, right? And people were arguing about it. People were going ham on it, right? And all this kind of stuff, right? And to me, it's just so kind of stupid, right? Not only this, but the whole thing in general of comparing someone from a completely separate universe, separate place, with a completely different power system than somewhere in this completely separate place with a completely different power system. It's so dumb. Like, I get it. It's dumb that people take it so seriously. That's it. It's fun. The concept is fun. It's fun to do that, right? It's fun to like conversate that with your friends as well. I think that's fun. But I think taking it so seriously is what is dumb to me, right? Because really, if you're gonna take it so serious, then you got to realize that it doesn't matter at all, and it's a lot more it can be a lot more complex than you make it out to be, just by scaling them by like multiverse or planetary or whatever, right? Because it all is within the confines of said verse, right? So here's an example. Let's say you're putting Naruto up against Luffy, right? Purely power, just by power, not anything else, right? Pretty obvious that Luffy would win, right? I think that's pretty obvious. The reason why I say that is because, uh, let's say Naruto wants to hit him with like a Rasengan or something like that, wouldn't work, and he'd have to use like a Rasen Shuriken for it to work, and he'd only be able to do that once, well, like once or twice in his normal state, or be in his sage state, right? And that's just at fighting base Luffy without Luffy having like armament hockey or anything like that. But with Luffy having hockey and all this different types of stuff, right? All these different types of powers, all these different types of upgrades for his devil powers and for his hockey power, it gives him the upper hand pretty much the whole way through, right? Never mind like gear 5 or anything like that. Just normal, just Luffy, like up to like gear 4, let's say, or even without all the gears and just hockey. I think beats him. But if you're gonna compare them with the confines of that universe or whatever, I think that would be much more of a fair fight, right? Because again, sage mode, and hockey are basically kind of similar, where they're like more kind of spiritual kind of powers rather than physical manifestations of the world, right? Like truths of the world, basically. So if you were gonna have Naruto be in One Piece, what's it called? Sage mode would be his hockey, basically, and that I think it would grant him, or he would be able to learn that kind of stuff to be granted that amount of power. So then it becomes a whole different conversation. Then the lines become much more blurred. It's not Luffy wins definitely anymore. It's more like it's a toss up at that point, right? And Luffy would have to probably hit Gear 5 at that point to probably beat, to beat Naruto. And that's how that whole conversation kind of works, right? And then let's say, for example, you're going to compare, Aizen, for example, Aizen versus Sasuke, right? Even though I think both ways Aizen would win, even if it was in the confines of either universe. I think Aizen would win. That's just because he has hacks powers and all that. And he has much more than Sasuke does. But it's the same thing again. I don't think Sasuke has a Sage mode, right? But he does have, and because I don't think I'm pretty sure Sasuke doesn't have a Sage mode. I don't think he would be even able to feel Aizen in the first place, right? Or if he does, he's probably being incinerated, depending on, which Aizen it is. If it's Aizen after, awakening, he's probably getting most likely incinerated, or he's going to be pinned down to the ground because of how that power works. Or it won't be like that. It will be more like the Thousand Year Blood War Aizen, where he's basically weakened, right? Where he's not that much of a threat, and all of his power is confined within him rather than without. He'd still probably lose. One, because he wouldn't be able to rely on any of his Sharingan, Mangekyo, any of his powers to see into like the future, or even his Rinnegan to even like switch places or anything like that. He wouldn't be able to rely on any of his powers because it would probably be tricking him at the end of the day, right? So even in the confines of said Bleach universe, he would probably still lose, at least to Aizen, right? I think against Chad, I think he would probably beat Chad in a fight, or maybe even Uryu. Even though that's kind of like a toss-up for me, because Uryu has antithesis, and that's more of it changes the leverage and the situation, right? To where if, let's say, Sasuke has him in like a corner, like backed up to the corner, almost like literally, right? And surrounded, then it can the places can be switched, right? Like he did with I forgot her name, the Silk Lady, right? That kind of thing can happen. That kind of thing can happen, but it becomes this whole thing where if you're going to take it seriously, you're going to have to put them on a more even kind of playing field, and you have to decide where they're going to be at for it to be more of something that people can agree on, rather than something for fun, like let's say Goku versus Superman, right? And now you want to do like the power scaling thing, it's multiversal and blah blah blah, blah, right? And then that's all fine and dandy, right? But don't take it so serious that it's like you're gonna argue with someone on the internet for that. It's like it's not that big of a deal, right? These are fictional characters that you might have grown up with, but if you're gonna go power scaling, and if you're gonna do it completely, all the way, then at least do the whole thing with, okay, let's pit them up against inside one place or another place. This is what like Marvel and DC does, right? Because when Marvel and DC wants to do like a whole collaboration, like Batman versus Deadpool goes over to the DC universe. It isn't some like barren wasteland or anything. It's just they go to that universe, and then they're pretty much bound to the confines of said universe, and that's how that works, right? And also, it goes down to like what Stan Lee said, where the writers at the end choose what happens. So if the writers decide on what day, like if it ever happened, like a Dragon Ball and Superman collaboration or something, which that would have been crazy. I'm just saying, that would have been so fun. I think that would be really fun to read. But if let's say that happened, right? The writers on that day would have to decide who wins, right? And if they did it again, then they could change who wins, right? That's what it comes down to. That's what it always would come down to, right? Whatever the writers want. But that being said, just don't take it so seriously. Don't take it so seriously to where you're arguing about it and yelling about it and berating someone or something like that, or like standing for your, I don't know, whatever, for your side or whatever the whole time. It gets really weird at that point. It gets really annoying. It's just like, okay, now you're just like one, it feels like you're kind of meat riding your whatever character, whatever side you're on, right? Like this guy who's comparing the Powerpuff Girls with the like trying to pit them up in a battle against the one girl from Doki Doki, right? Kind of turns into that where you just it becomes to a whole bias thing, and you take it more of a whole like you take the planetary multiversal kind of thing literally, right? Against cartoon characters, mind you. Things like characters with like cartoon force and everything, which can change things in like the drop of a hat, right? They can be an ant one day, and then they could be an ant that carries like the weight of the world on their shoulders, like Atlas, like in another second, right? It's something that cartoons are a lot more hard to like to pit down unless it's something like Samurai Jack, for example, where it's pretty much like a like more closer to like an anime or a comic book show or something like that, right? If it's just regular cartoon like Powerpuff Girls, Ed Ed and Eddie, what's it called? Looney Tunes, right? Sorry, I'm waking up. I'm sorry, but if it's like any of those, then it's kind of hard to. Well, it's not kind of hard, but it's easier to say, hey, those guys win because it's kind of like they can basically do whatever they want, right? Because they're cartoons. They're not supposed to be limited to the confines of whatever power system that you just choose for them to have, right? This is why like Bugs Bunny can turn into like Superman, right? Stuff like this. You don't have it at this confined like this closed structure, right? It's open. It's like they're gonna break out of it, right? So don't take power scaling super seriously. It gets really annoying. I just this is what like turns me off of like power scaling discussions and all that, like death battles and stuff, right? Even though I have my own qualms with like death battle and all that, because it kind of feels more like whatever's more popular ends up winning. Like for example, like Dio versus Alucard. I feel like Alucard would have won, honestly. Mostly because Dio can stop time, but he only has one life and he can only stop time for said amount of time, right? So I think pitting up against him and Alucard, who also has vampire killing equipment, which, like, again, didn't really exist other than like Hamon in JoJo's. I think that is kind of weird to be like, oh, he stopped time once he shot. He stopped time again after he shot again, right? I don't think that's going to be happening, right? Because there's so many moments where time isn't stopped. I think there's a cooldown to stop time for Dio and all this kind of stuff. There's a whole lot to it, but overall, I think Alucard should have won that fight. But anyway, it gets really annoying when you're like so for your character, so for like whatever, to the point where you're gonna fight for them and be biased, right? You gotta like, if you're doing it for fun, keep it as that. Laugh at someone or laugh with someone saying, hey, actually I think it's gonna be this and this is why, and you're like, oh really, is that really it? And then like they show you and then they give you the argument and then you're like, oh well, that makes sense. Or, oh well, I mean, I don't really agree with that, but right, it's like, it is what it is. It's whatever. It's all in good fun. Just leave it at in good fun. Don't be making like big arguments online about it. I think that's really stupid, and I think that's really dumb. But anyway, tell me what you guys think, how you guys feel about power scaling and stuff. Me personally, I don't mind it. I just don't like it when it comes so serious. When it becomes so serious, where you have like big arguments about it, it gets really annoying. But yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys later. I'm probably gonna make a music video or something like that. Not an actual like music video of me playing music, but just talking about music in general. Probably about like Taylor Swift or something, because the album, it wasn't bad, but like I'll talk about it anyway. Bye.